afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me this, I was going to say sunny afternoon. It's not entirely sunny. It's warm, but it's a little bit muggy and overcast in Glasgow, in Scotland, which is where I am. This show is going out, obviously, worldwide. I hope everyone everywhere is watching live. If not, then I hope you're enjoying watching us on Catch Up. This, I should say at the beginning, is the second series of the Stepping Up webcast from TAtech. The Stepping Up webcast is in existence really to not only speak with technology companies in the recruitment sector and find out about what they do and how they do it, but to find out how they live their values, how they work as organisations, and how they, in a position of influence with the employers that they deal with, are able to spread the word and, if you like, be good corporate citizens. So what we're looking to do is, in the next space of the next half hour, is with our very special guest, is find out more about their organisation, having a peek behind the curtain, if you like. My very special guest today is founder and CEO of Appcast. I'm going to welcome to the stage Chris Foreman. Chris, good afternoon. How are you? Or good morning, rather.
Thank you, Stephen. It's great. But I can be both in the morning or the afternoon, whatever works best for you.
Yeah. It's somewhere in the world, it's time for a beer.
That's right. 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah. So welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining. I know that Appcasts are not only a TAtech member, but a very engaged TAtech member. So thank you again for that. Before we go on to get into some more detail, can you tell our audience who might not be as well informed a little bit about yourself and Appcast, and how it came to be founded in 2014, I think?
Yeah, sure, of course. So my name's Chris. My wife and I live in upstate New Hampshire, right near Dartmouth College, so about 2 hours north of Boston. We live on a little dairy farm. We have 4 kids, though they all seem to grow up really fast, and most of them are out of the house. And for the last 25 years, I've been structurally unemployable. And so I've been lucky enough to be part of a team of folks that have built a series of recruitment technology companies up here. The first one, at least in the United States, a lot of people that have been in the industry for a long time know the business. Some in the UK, called Airs. We built the first broadly adopted recruitment CRM platform, and had a recruiter training business. We sold that to the largest RPO in North America at the time, a company called The Right Thing. So I spent a couple of years living dangerously, working in the RPO world. And after that, we sold that business, so Airs and the RPO, to ADP. And after that, founded an incubator, and we've graduated a couple companies out of Start Date Labs, and Appcast is the last one of them. You're right, we were founded in 2014. The investment thesis for the business was pretty simple. If you roll back to 2014, in the United States, recruitment advertising was going through kind of a one-time secular shift from duration-based or tenancy-based ad units, how people paid for their job ads, to performance-based, pay-per-click, the Google model, being driven by Indeed and Simply Hired and a handful of others. In 2013, when we started to think about the business, it was in full swing. Big companies were saying, hey, this new way of buying ads makes sense. I like paying when somebody looks at my job ad, not just because the job ad's up online for 30 days. And when we were, sitting up here in the middle of nowhere, and that's one of the kind of nice things about building businesses outside of Silicon Valley and Union Square and Boston, is that there is no conventional wisdom. The cows don't talk to you, they moo. And so we started to think about, what opportunities did this shift to pay for performance make? And so we looked outside of the job space more broadly in advertising and MarTech. And what we saw was marketers needed third-party software to help them buy and optimize performance ads, because fundamentally what you can pay and your willingness to pay is a function of the productivity of your advertising. And that happens really quickly and faster than most people can make the decisions. And so marketers basically buy software that helps them do that. And we looked around the job ad space and we found that nobody was making that software. And so that's what we did. And so if you fast forward to today, we just got shy of 400 people. We're the startup that never pivoted. Same idea. We make one piece of software. We sell it a couple different ways, but fundamentally we help big companies manage their job ads, specifically their pay for performance job ads, more effectively to drive the outcomes that they're looking for, which is either more hires, more affordable hires, more diverse hires in lots of different areas. And to put the scope and scale, the U.S. job ad marketplace is about $13 billion annually. About $4.5 billion of that is spent by big companies, so enterprises, and the rest is spent by small and mid-sized companies. We only work with big companies. And $1 billion, in fact, more than $1 billion of ad spend every year goes through our software. So between 25 and 30% of the enterprise market in the United States uses Appcast technology to buy and optimize all their job ad spending.
Yeah. It's a simple idea, but as you say, you've not pivoted. You do what you set out to do. And I suppose it goes back to the days of Henry Ford saying, for every $1 million he spent on advertising, only half of it worked. He just didn't know which half.
That's right.
And of course, in the earliest days of job boards, they were replicating newspapers. And whilst you might count the number of clicks on a job, you didn't know who was clicking on the job, and you didn't know which adverts were really working. But with a distribution service and with an intelligent system behind it, able to count what's working and what's not, then you can make a difference for the people on the recruiting side who are deciding, where should I spend my money, where should I advertise these vacancies.
100%. In fact, if you take a look at the job ad spend that we manage for our employer customers. So Appcast technology is used by job boards. It's used by gig companies. It's used by staffing firms. It's used by reccoms. It's used by ad agencies. But if you look at the work that we do with big enterprises, we track about 75% of that ad spend from the impression, meaning when somebody looks at the ad, to the click, to the apply, to the quality signal, to the hire. So all the way. So we integrate the Appcast platform integrates with applicant tracking systems at a level that is incredibly deep, and that's a virtuous circle. Like when you use the Henry Ford quote about which half of the advertising works or not. What we do from a technology standpoint is not that complex. I mean, it's hard. It's math. Yeah. A lot of people in recruiting technology space talk a lot about AI, and amongst us, kids here, most of it's BS. Like it's just, they're just doing math. We do math and we do it really, really well. The value of what we do is what's hard is the connection between the job ad platform and the applicant tracking system and getting the hire signals back into the platform so that we can optimize what we're doing. And I'm smiling right now because my wife just showed up at work and she's outside of my little cubicle here making faces. Hi, honey. So anyway, yeah,
no,
that was it.
I love that. Can I just double check? Peter said that my volume seems a little low. Does it seem okay to you?
It was good from the beginning, and I'm sure, Peter, can you hear us better now?
Okay, if it's still low, then I can adjust the knobs and dials here. But hopefully it's coming right through loud and clear. But so I'm really interested in the ways in which you're able to optimize performance and not only that, but findability of vacancies for candidates. It's great that advertisers get what they're looking for, but more than that, I've always been of the view that a targeted advert, a well-targeted advert, is a delight, whereas a poorly targeted advert is an annoyance, and people feel as if they're being besieged by ads that aren't relevant to them. So I would imagine that on the candidate side of things, when they see those adverts more intelligently being put in front of where they go, then that's a better experience for them.
It is. It can be. Let's say it can be. I mean, what ends up happening is that if you are poorly targeting the ad, one of two things happens. You have poor volume, meaning that, like, if all of a sudden, let's say, you're looking for work in the recruitment technology space, and I show you an ad to be a physician, you're not going to engage with it. So first off, there's low engagement or no engagement, and that means that you're not satisfying the objectives of delivering volume. And if you're close, so let's say, we put an ad in front of you that is maybe not recruiting technology, but HR technology, and you apply to something in comp and benefits, but the hiring manager looks at your background and says, this is half a bubble off. The other signal that you're going to get. So one is no engagement. And the other one, though, is candidate quality isn't where it needs to be. And that's where the hi, sweetheart. Okay, goodbye. I love you very much. I'm on a global webinar. You want to say hi to the world? Hey, everybody, this is Angela.
Hi, world.
Hi, world. All right. So, anyway, what you're going to see happen in that regard is you're going to see low candidate quality scores coming from that advertising. Yeah. So both of them are bad for job seekers. Both of them, one leads to a misinvestment on job seekers in terms of their apply time. The other is just pisses them off. The key to showing the right ad at the right time in the right place oftentimes comes down to the information that the job site has about the seeker. Okay, that information can be like what is typed into the search engine box. That information can be their profile. That information can be their resume. That information can be the jobs that they've clicked on in the past. Yeah. And then what's in the advert. And I think this is what you're getting at. And what's neat is we've managed so many, like billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of ads and billions of ads that we've been able to boil the ocean and learn some stuff that is relatively remarkable. If you have an accurate job title that is short, meaning it is descriptive of the job, not some metaphorical, kind of creative writing endeavor. Yeah. You get massively better engagement.
Too generic that it doesn't mean anything. We're looking for a colleague for our...
Yeah. It's got to be direct. The title needs to be direct. It needs to be short. If you've got a title that's 3 words or less and is on target, you can dramatically increase your engagement rate. If you talk about benefits, non-cash benefits, so like health insurance, vacation, free coffee, whatever it happens to be, dramatically increases engagement up to the point of like you can increase apply rate conversions by 30 to 40%. If you have an advert that is too short or too long, it decreases engagement from job seekers. So it's not just the targeting that impacts it, but it does, you're right, how well you write it and how concise it is and the information that you put into it dramatically impacts the effectiveness of the ad.
So that access to that enormous, immense sample size, where you can you can see the patterns in the data much more clearly than someone with much less information, puts you in a unique position to understand the behaviours of job seekers, particularly in the US, but worldwide, wherever your ads are served. We've gone through all sorts of turmoil in the past couple of years. Have you seen patterns that you're able to discern meaning from in the advertising and the response rates?
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of things. The first one is supply and demand. Okay, so macroeconomics. Well, actually, to paraphrase, Tip O'Neill, former Speaker of the House, he once said all politics is local. The reality is all job search is local. So you can look at the national unemployment rate in the United States, and it really doesn't tell you anything about how hard it is to recruit a specific job in a specific location. So, in a location for a specific job, if you have massive supply and low demand, you are going to find, even if you have awful job ads, they're going to be highly engaging. People are going to be willing to invest the time. If the shoe is on the other foot, then what you end up finding is engagement goes down. So this has nothing to do with how good you are. This has nothing to do with how much you pay. This has nothing to do with whether or not the job ads are written right. It's just the physics of supply and demand.
Yeah.
So if you move that aside, yeah, there's a huge amount of things that impact how seekers engage with your adverts. So the first one is company brand. Okay.
Yeah.
Company brand is at the end of the day the final arbiter of engagement that people have with vacancies. The example that I like to use is if all of a sudden Google was offering auto mechanic jobs, they would probably be the most engaging auto mechanic jobs in the world. Why? Because Google has an incredible employee brand. They pay very well. They have free lunch. They do, yada yada yada. And well, the tow truck shop down the road, probably wouldn't get as many applies.
Yeah.
The physical, the practical measure of that is Glassdoor ratings. So if you have a 4 or above Glassdoor rating, you get materially more applies per advert than an organization that has in the 3s, and definitely sub 3. If you're sub 3, it's a net negative benefit. If you're 4+, it's a net positive benefit. And then in the middle, it depends. The job ad content itself, pay. So Indeed, now requires that every job ad that is submitted to Indeed has pay rates, and that's done for a reason. It's what the job seekers want. There's more engagement. It also there's a societal benefit to it. Like, it allows people to comparison shop. I'm looking for a job to work second shift in this area. I don't care if I work for company A, B, C, or D. How much am I getting paid? Where's the warehouse? What's the commute time? Is it near a bus line? Those are the things that people care about.
Yeah, you mentioned the brand of the employer. I know it's not so much the case in the States, but certainly in the UK, there are huge volumes of adverts being advertised by recruitment firms who will advertise the job anonymously without giving the name of the employer. And we know that the conversion rates on those ads are considerably down, but they still persist in running those kinds of ads. They're afraid of someone else knowing that they're working on a particular project. Is there a pattern in the figures that you're seeing of fewer and fewer of those anonymous adverts, whether it be in the States or elsewhere?
Yeah, I haven't looked at that. I could probably look at it. I can almost guarantee that apply rates on jobs that are anonymous are lower. Yeah. I think the bigger issue is that especially in the UK, retcons flood the market with jobs. I'll be candid, a bunch of them are fake. They don't exist. And the reason why they're out there is to gather profiles so that they can market the candidate. I don't like that practice. I don't like it at all. And I think it's bad for the seeker. And honestly, I don't know. I just don't like it. So if I can go on record as saying I don't love it, and I think it's a bad practice.
I'm totally with you on that. As a former agency recruiter and owner, I absolutely agree. So automating or effectively automating parts of the hiring process has long been an aspiration of employers, thinking, well, how could we be more effective and more efficient in doing what we do? In what you do, what parts of the process are you able to automate and save time so that the recruiters can be focusing on other things that give candidates a better experience?
It depends on the environment that you're in. We either are saving recruiters a lot of time or no time. So what I mean by that is that we only work with enterprise companies. Some enterprise companies have marketing departments who, structurally are responsible for the direct response and branding advertising. They often, will have people that are dedicated to this function. We change the work that those people do. Yeah. So it's not like they buy our technology and all of a sudden somebody's out of a job. They become strategists rather than people that are focused on like pushing tin, making sure ads show up in different places and doing the analytics. So in some ways it's not a labor saver. The number of hours are still done there, but the value that you get from those hours is massively higher. And then, but for a lot of recruiters, they're not responsible these days for like hitting a button to post a job ad. And if they do, it may be in a workflow for a recruiter. So we're much more before the apply process. And so the argument that rarely do you see a justification for moving to a programmatic platform for labor saving. Really what it is it's about improving the performance of those ads, because here's the deal. When you buy duration-based ads, you spend 100 quid to get an ad up for 30 days. You spend 100 quid, you get what you get, don't be upset. In a programmatically managed pay-for-performance ad, if it is managed effectively, you don't have to spend 100 quid. On a lot of jobs, you could spend 20. Okay. On a handful of jobs, you'll spend 500 because that's what you have to spend to go do it. But on average, you end up spending 70. So it doesn't spread the peanut butter evenly. It applies the budget where it's required. And that's, not labor saving. That's just optimization.
Yeah, but it's resource. You're saving on resources, which gives the recruiter more tools to.
Oh yeah, they can go buy more cool stuff. That's right.
Yeah. I see Louise has mentioned I'm still pretty quiet.
I can hear you perfectly, man. So
I'm going to switch my microphone from one thing to. How does that sound?
You always sounded good to me.
Okay. If we're stuck, then I can fix it in post, as they say.
Okay. All right.
So one thing in looking into Appcast, I've really enjoyed is the economic outlook videos from Andrew Flowers. They fascinate me because I like that kind of granular detail, and it really adds an extra dimension to showcase the insights that you've got access to, and obviously you've got a mountain of data that you have compiled over these years. Can you tell us a little bit how that better informs your clients and demonstrates the kind of data that informs your technology?
Yeah, Andrew's amazing, isn't he? So, he worked at the Fed. He worked for Nate Silver's 538. He was, an economist for Indeed. He's just a rock star. And so we are so just blessed to have him. How does what Andrew does inform our customers? The first thing is that a lot of times talent acquisition leaders have difficulty communicating to line leaders and executives why something is hard. Okay. So like last year, it was a crazy, especially in e-commerce, supply chain, and retail, extraordinarily difficult to recruit. If you spent the same money that you did the year before, you would get half the results that you did. So think about that. Domino's Homeless, you're the head of recruiting, big company, you got 50 box stores and you got to have enough people to sell boxes. And, revenues are the same, budget is the same, you're getting half as many people. CEO is going, what is going on? A ton of what Andrew does is we have executive briefings for, senior leaders at big companies, not just talent acquisition leaders, but CEOs and CFOs, so that they can say, oh, I get it. Okay. This is not just like we're screwing up. This is a macro issue. And I've read about this in the Wall Street Journal, but now you've explained it in a way that is, I can translate that into my own talent acquisition, kind of budgets. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is that a lot of what, I talk to you about math. We do a lot of math, and the math that we do tends to come down to a handful of proprietary algorithms that take in a variety of data inputs and make decisions about how to advertise the jobs and what to pay to advertise those jobs. Well, not surprisingly, some of those inputs are economic. And so, Andrew provides us with insights that allow us to ensure what our software is doing is smart.
Yeah, yeah. Years ago, a friend of mine who ran one of the earlier job boards in the UK, he discovered retrospectively that the data that he had, if read after the fact, he was able to determine that there was a parallel with what happened in the volumes of vacancies, volumes of candidates, movements in different marketplaces, and location-wise around the country, that could tally with movements in the stock marketplace. So the kind of data that you have is of the same, or well, I would say a multiple of scale, and being able to read that information intelligently, if when Andrew's in a position to do that, is a huge resource. To be able to see a bit further up the road on what's likely to happen, or what are the risks ahead for everyone.
You're correct, and that's probably one of the reasons why a week doesn't go by if you're reading the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, Business Insider when Andrew isn't quoted, because economic and business journalists are now starting to understand the asset that he has access to, and his team's ability to analyze that effectively is of macro level importance, like policy level importance to to decision making.
So. Before moving off of that topic, what are the regular metrics that you use to best measure the effect that you're having on your client's bottom line and the working lives of recruiters at the coalface? What are the metrics you're looking at?
Well, it depends on the objectives of the company. So let's say you are an organization that is hiring, 5,000 people next year. All right. For half those positions, or 80% of those positions, what you want is you want to spend the smallest amount to get a good hire fast.
Yeah.
So what you have there is you've got a couple things. Is you've got candidate quality, so efficiency. How many applicants do you need to get a slate? And speed and cost. All right. So if you think about three lines that you're drawing together that cross, there's a target there.
Yeah.
And then there's another, for 20% of your jobs, what you care about is volume. I need as many people as I possibly can, as fast as I can. And I'm going to change that week to week based on the performance of my business or what the demands are for orders that I've got. And so another one is volume. Yeah. And when you have a need for volume, it tends to be seasonal. So some months it's very hot and heavy, and other months it's not. And you are less concerned about cost. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have somebody packing a box or driving a truck, that's lost revenue. So it doesn't matter if it costs $250 or $500.
If we took as an example Amazon warehouses, where there'll be distribution depots all over, well, certainly all over the UK and all over the most of the Western world, if not the entire world, on a seasonal basis, they will have ebbs and flows on the volume of staff that they need, and it can ramp up crazy fast and drop off just as fast, I imagine, in different circumstances.
Yeah, and so in certain situations, you want efficiency, where it's like, okay, what I want is I want to manage my budgets. I want good outcomes, but I don't need unlimited volume. And in other areas, it's about volume, and you care less about incrementality. Like the next apply may cost you 5 times more than the previous apply, but you're okay with that because you need them. Yeah. And so it depends on the time of year and the type of job and what you need. And that's, in terms of improving recruiters' lives, probably the way programmatic does that is, remember I used the example of some jobs you can spend 20 quid and sometimes you have to spend 500. Well, the reality is about 30% of the jobs you don't need to spend anything. Yeah. And another 30% of the jobs you can spend 10 to 20 pounds and fill it. And then a very small percentage, you got to go spend more than 500 pounds to go get it done, because that's just the market. Yeah. And so if in fact we can titrate how money is spent to the greatest value for the company, that means recruiters' jobs are going to get easier, because they're going to be having more applies on the hard to fill jobs and not thousands of applies on the easy to fill jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I should pause just to mention that our audience will be in the States as well as in the UK. So I'm sure they know pounds and dollars, but just in case. Coming on to Appcast itself, very interesting Appcast. So with, as you said, just to kick off, 400 employees working in the HR and hiring space. How do you establish your values within the organization? Because people will be looking to you as an example of, well, so how do you do it?
We've always been a values-based organization, and that's, probably because we're so young. We all started in a very small group of us started in a small room that smelled like a hockey bag, and that's where the business came from.
Yeah.
So we've always had a very defined set of cultural values. We recruit on those, we train on those, we use those in making our decisions. And Appcast is not everybody's cup of tea, but for the people that are kind of grok what we're about, go read our Glassdoor rating. I mean, we've got a 4.8, 4.9 on Glassdoor. We have an employee NPS score of 70. We've got a group of happy campers here that are just happy to show up and go to work. Yeah.
So in what ways are given you've built a position of trust and credibility with clients, in what ways are you able to show people your values and influence them, and through how you work as a progressive employer?
I don't know. I think it's a hard one. We show up and go to work every day and kind of do what we think is right. I mean, one of our values is team and client above self. Yeah. And so, I think our clients know that. They know that we believe even if they don't believe it, we believe that we have a fiduciary to them. Yeah. And that means a lot. And when you when you tell truth to power, when you tell them when you screwed up, when you make good on something that wasn't right, without them asking, and they say, "Whoa, why'd you do that?" Well, because it was the right thing to do. And you're like, "Well, you didn't have to." We know that. But and that communicates a lot.
Yeah. Being dependable and reliable and sticking to your guns is absolutely a value. Where organizations are seeing the market in a state of flux, where you're able to do what you do and maintain that that steady course. Do you see the nature of your company values reflected in your product, in the way that the product works, or is that not possible to do with your kind of technology?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's our software does math, and so it's hard to take cultural values, around truth to power and team and client above self and work hard and be kind, and turn it into an algorithm. But the thing that I'll tell you is, in our customer surveys, our solutions are not just technology, they are our people. And so when we take a look at the verbatims, people say, "Oh, your software is great, it works, but man, we love your people." And so at the end of the day, do our values seep into our products? Yes, because our products are us.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. Because math, as my old math teacher would tell me, maths never lies. The numbers are what the numbers are. But when you bring in that human quotient, that's when it becomes more three-dimensional.
I'm your assistant.
Yep.
Here to help you.
For some reason, my Google Assistant has started talking behind me.
Got it.
Let's stop that. So, last question, and I'm always really interested in the answer to this. For new hires to your organization, what's the most common realization that they have once they join? That they learn once they join that they weren't aware of beforehand.
Especially now, because we're bigger. We are a place, we all sit in this, nobody's got an office. Everybody sits next to each other. We're not a titles-based place. And when I meet everybody, I typically introduce myself as Chris, and that's it. And I think we also talk about the fact that everybody has a job. Nobody's job is more important than the other one, just that our jobs are different. And I think in the beginning, people think that's bullshit. I think after a bit of time, they realize, whoa, well, honestly, at this place, it's more true than not.
Everyone's got the part to play.
Yeah. And so, I don't know how long that's going to last. As you get bigger, it's harder to kind of keep the ethos, but I think we got it right now.
Can you give us an insight as to how you see the hiring landscape with the data that you have 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line? I
wish I could.
Any crystal balls?
Right now, our compass is spinning in circles. There's all sorts of contradictory information that's going on. We're not seeing. It's been a very good year, and there's huge hiring needs and demands, but at the same time, it's lumpy. Meaning some areas are really down and some places are really up, and what that means tomorrow or the next day, we don't know. I mean, we're doing organizational Pilates right now. What we're focusing on is keeping our organization flexible, because flexibility gives us the ability to adapt in an uncertain environment.
Yeah. How remotely spread are the team in Appcast?
About 35% of people work remote, and everybody else is in an office.
Okay. Fantastic. I really hope that we're going to meet sometime in the near future. I see that we've gone quite a bit over time. Chris, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you. I hope to speak to you more and find out more. But in the meantime, I'm going to say thank you very much for being a fantastic guest. Thank you for being the first guest on this series. We're going to have more shows coming up in the coming weeks. We have a whole load scheduled. I'm going to send out schedules to everyone who's joined us today live or on replay, so they can see who's coming up. And with that, I'm going to say thank you very much and goodbye.
Thanks very much, Stephen. Take care. Bye-bye.